Yo, yo, what's up? I'm Brother Word. That's my that's my actual name. Well, my last name. I don't particularly use aliases or anything of that nature. I'm not trying to hide from anybody or uh, put on airs or try to portray myself as something I'm not. So I don't call myself Brother Word because I assume that I just know the word or anything of that nature, although I do have some comprehension of what the word says, being the scriptures, uh, scriptures of the Most High Yah. I do know some of it. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert. I'm always looking to learn and become a better version of myself. But this is my channel, Torah Observant Patriarchs. And if this is your first time visiting my channel, I thank you for that. And if you stick around, that'd be cool. If not, may you have a blessed day. I don't plan on monetizing this channel in any form or fashion. Uh, if that happens, that'd be awesome. But, I'm not, I don't like depending on, uh, I don't like depending on sources of income that are shaky at best. Because some of the things I plan on talking about on this channel will probably get me demonetized anyway. If I was to gain a following, I'd probably go over to Rumble or something like that. But anyway, um, so this is my channel, Torah Observer Patriarchs, and that's all I really claim to be as a patriarch or a man who will be the head of his house, even if I'm the only one in my house. And me and my house are going to observe the laws of Yahweh or the Torah, um, and do so in a faithful manner, not a religious manner. Now, I do believe that there are things that you should do religiously. You should probably groom yourself, brush your teeth, wash your ass religiously, uh, meaning consistently. uh, but I don't think that you have to, pick up a cross and kiss it and do the mark of Rhythm Nation or whatever the hell that is before you take a shower, right? So I'm not a religious person. I'm a faithful person. I observe the Torah. I make sure that I put the Most High Yahweh first in all things. I seek Yah first. I seek He and His kingdom first, and if it be the Father's will, all things will be added on to me. Um, but in this society, you know, we have learned to put other things first. But whatever your heart is, that's where your treasure is going to be also, right? Uh, because whoever you dedicate your time to, whoever you uh, set out to please, that would be your master, right? So a wife, it would be wise for her to put her husband first and foremost, right? But in today's society, most wives are taught not to put their husband first, maybe to put their job first, or to put their children first, um, or to put their own desires first, whatever they may be, instead of putting their husband first. And that's why they're not actually wives, because they don't belong to their husbands. Like a wife who might put her job first, uh, she would belong to her job. No man can serve two masters, right? So if her husband says, "Hey, I need you to do this," but her job says, "No, I need you to do that," and she says, "Well, I have to do what the job tells me to do," or I'll do what you say, but first I'll do what the job says, then I'll do what you say. Well, then you already know that she is actually property of the company. She belongs to uh, her company, or maybe she even belongs to the streets, but she don't belong to you because she does not care about what you say, at least to a degree that she cares about whatever this other thing is over here. And that's just the way this society is, and it is starting to crumble. And I mean, truthfully, I thank y'all for that, because we're getting closer and closer to the end of this whole age, this whole era of lawlessness, um, where the Messiah is going to come down and he's going to destroy all the works of darkness, all the wickedness, all the heathen. And I'm not claiming to know if I'm going to make it in with the sheep or if I'm going to be counted with the goats. All I do know is that I'm going to try my very best to keep his Torah uh, to the highest degree, as the standard of my house, and lift it above everything else. And anybody who decides to come into my house, that will that's going to be the standard, not American law, you know, because American law, although in some forms of fashion it can be somewhat righteous, in other ways it's an abomination, you know. So, and I'm with what the Father says, you know. Where in the Bible does it say you need a marriage certificate? Where in the Bible does it say you need a birth certificate? Where in the Bible does it says when you're 18 you're an adult, or when you're 21 you're an adult? Where in the Bible does it say that? I mean, because truthfully, I think that households, and I'm not a relationship expert. Um, Honestly, I can say that I have not been in a successful relationship yet, but at the same time, I have not done what I think I have not built a foundation of a successful relationship. And what I mean by that is what I think the foundation of a successful relationship would be. And if I go further, or if I ever take another wife or concubine, um, I think that the foundation of a successful relationship would be an older man, a man with at least that you can provide, um, should be with a woman who is younger, one who has not been with a lot of sexual partners. Um, I mean, it would be ideal to be with a virgin, but uh, you know, that's that's more going into culture, Hebraic culture, where you're more in a tribe setting, and you would talk to the father, and and then the young maiden would decide if she wants to be in your house, and then y'all would court, and you would pay a bride price, a hefty bride price for a virgin. But I think that is the foundation to a successful relationship, because you know once I mean in today's society you might meet an 18-year-old who's technically legal, and she may already have 4 children, or she may already had 20 sexual partners. She's never going to be satisfied because she's seen too much. So unless you're just the alpha of alphas, um and you got a bunch of money, you got a bunch of possessions, uh you got 6 figures, you got a 6 pack, and you're packing uh 6 inches or more, um they're not really going to be satisfied with you. And even then they're always, they're probably going to be looking the monkey branch. They're kind of, I mean, I don't want to cast aspersions. I don't want to say that all women are like this. I don't think that. I'm just saying that when a woman has had a bunch of sexual experiences, she's always going to compare you, and then, women, uh, they depend on the opinions of their girlfriends or even social media. So they're always looking for that guy, who has more clout or whatever it might be. So, um, truthfully, I don't think relationships in this society are going to work until this society falls, until there is a mass traumatic event where um, priorities shift, the paradigm shifts, where priorities are realigned, where it's not about doing it for the gram, but now it is doing it for your survival, where you got to figure out how you going to get clean water for the day. You got to figure out how you going to get food for the day. And I think that when we get back to a time like that, and we will before the Messiah comes back, then relationships are going to be, they're going to be restored to a more natural state where the man is looked at to be the provider, and the woman is looked at to be the more nurturer of the couple, um, and the one that is to submit to the man. Because see, in a society like that, I mean, and this is just common sense. I don't know why people don't comprehend this, but in that type of situation, a man's gonna go and handle his business regardless. The man does not need the woman to handle his business. He can just go and handle his. I'm gonna find some food. I'm gonna find some water. I'm gonna set up a tent or some type of dwelling place. I'm gonna get a fire going. I'm gonna get the necessities for me to survive in this life, right? The woman may have a harder time doing that. There may be some women who can do that, but they're not going to be as rigid as a man would be, as three-dimensional to the point as a man would be. Case in point, if a man tells you the story is who, what, when, why, and where. I went to the store. I saw this. I did that. This is what happened. Bada bing, bada boom. Whereas most times when a woman tells you a story, she may start with, well, first you have to understand how I was feeling that day, and how this was going, and how that was going. And it's just all emotional. And it's like by the time they get to what happened, you're like, what are you talking about? Like, can we just get to the point about, But anyway, so what I'm saying is there's going to come a time where there's going to be a great realigning of priorities in this country. Because, I mean, this country has gotten soft, and men are no longer men, and women are too masculine, and they think, it's it's all about equality until it's equal rights and equal lefts. It's all about equality until it's time for somebody to go do those dirty jobs that don't nobody else want to do. It's all about equality uh, when it's corporate jobs, when it's sitting in the air conditioned office, and we want to be paid the same as white men. They don't want to be paid the same as black men. Believe me, they don't. Black men are the lowest on the totem pole in the hierarchy of this society. But that's only because we're actually Yah's people, and we haven't turned back to the Father, uh, so that He could heal our land. Some of us are turning back. A lot of us are turning to different things, and that's why, like me personally, I don't consider myself a black man. I consider myself a Hebrew man, and I don't share in the opinions of a lot of quote unquote black men. Um, I don't see myself as a black man. Black is a color, it's not a nationality. Um, I don't really get interested in the latest hip hop trends or fashion or music for that matter. Uh, I just don't. It doesn't excite me. What excites me is the thought that the King is coming, and that all things are gonna be restored one day. Anyway, I don't want to make this video too long, but I just I just question, you know, you know, who told you, who put it in your mind that that for a man to desire a young woman, um, for an older man to desire a young woman is somehow wrong. Um, for me, it's I think it's perfectly natural. I think that an older man who has more experience in life, who is handling his business, should be with a woman that he could teach how to be an effective asset within his house or his company, within his kingdom, so that his vision can go forward and she can be a beneficiary, uh, a benefactor of what he is doing. Because ultimately, speaking from a biblical sense, um, wives are a possession. Wives and concubines are a man's possession. They should be the most prized possession within a house, but they are possessions. Um, and when this society realigns, when shit hits the fan, per se, or a world without rule of law, where a woman can't just call the police, where a woman can't just call a plumber, where a woman just can't just call, you know, some man to come do the manly work, where she's actually going to have to submit to a man if she wants manly work done. Um, then we'll start to see, uh, you know, the natural state of things. Um, so anyway, I wanted to read this article because I just had some things on my chest. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this channel. I don't know if I'm gonna start a podcast. I don't know if I'm gonna start doing uh, daily videos, reaction videos. I might. Um, I'm trying to set up a little spot where I can kind of do that. Um, right now, I'm going through a season where I'm just doing a lot of grinding, a lot of hustling, a lot of getting out here and just trying to make it happen. I got plans for the future, and none of them really include making YouTube videos. But sometimes I do be having stuff on my chest that I kind of want to get off, and you know, uh, if I got the channel, I might as well use it. I mean, but in today's society, everybody has an opinion, right? Everybody's talking, everybody, and I don't like doing things that everybody else is doing. If everybody else is rapping, I don't want to be a rapper. If everybody else is making YouTube videos, I don't want to be a YouTuber. If everybody else is doing one thing, I'd rather go do something else. Uh, that's just how I've always been. But at the same time, sometimes I do be having things on my chest, things on my spirit that I would like to get off. So, oh, and I was looking at the definition of religious. I would go through that, but it's really no need to do that. Um, so I'm just wondering why nobody's really talking about this, but maybe I think it just happened yesterday. Uh, so maybe I just haven't given people a chance uh, to talk about this. But I find this article to be very interesting, and truthfully, I think that some of the things that Mr. Putin said are pretty much spot on. Um, so I'm just going to go through some of those things. Now, I'm not a foreign relations specialist. Um, I don't understand or comprehend all the ins and outs of what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine. But I do know that America is not to be trusted in any shape, fashion, or form. I mean, they've done experiments all kind of experiments on the American people unknowingly. Uh, they definitely target the quote unquote black communities. They've definitely done all types of wickedness unto us, but I mean, it's really because we're the people of the book, and you can go look at Psalms 83, where all the nations of the world really have conspired against the true Hebrews, to try to take away our heritage, to take away the remembrance of who we are. Is only because the Father in these last days is stirring up his spirit, uh, so that we can come back to his laws, his statutes, and commandments. And I would recommend, if you don't keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, that you should, and that you should humble yourself, uh, and that you should first seek, out of anything, you should first seek to receive his Holy Spirit. And I think that just comes by just humbling yourself, by actually seeking the Father, by staying in His Word, learning what His Word says, casting down all wicked, evil imaginations that pop in your head, line up against His Torah. Um, get out of these pagan churches, with the Christmas trees and their pumpkin patches, and their Easter eggs, because all that is pagan, you know, and just really seek after His Holy Spirit, so that the Spirit can lead you into all truth, right? And then from there, just do the best you can, to serve Yah with the utmost reverence, because you can never go too hard in serving the Most High, right? Um, but anyway, anybody who's done any research on this country, any person of color that's lived in this country, um, for any amount of time, knows that this country is wicked. I mean, whether you be a Democrat or a Republican, it really doesn't matter, because, uh, or a liberal, it doesn't matter, because I mean, a liberal in the old sense of the word, like a libertarian, not these modern day Democrats. Um, it doesn't matter. You're both. It's just two wings of the same bird. That's all it is. America is wicked. I mean, just turn over a dollar bill and you can see the trapezoid, the unfinished pyramid with the all-seeing eye over it. Nuvis Ordo Seclarium, New World Order. I mean, what's not to get about this? It does. George Washington was wicked. He might be the founder of this country, but he also had he also had some type of dwelling place in England, I believe, and I think the address was 36 Craven Street, or something. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this. I could go look it up. I can pull it up for you right now, and maybe I'll get into stuff like that. But anyway, they found a whole bunch of human remains buried in the basement, but they say, oh well, it's because he had a friend that was some type of doctor or whatever, or and he was learning human anatomy. No, they is down there doing human sacrifices, okay, allegedly. All right, I'll put the alleged on it. But this country is wicked from the onset, man. They didn't come over here to freely practice Christianity, and even if that's the case, Christianity is pagan. Okay, they came to this. It's supposed to have religious freedom here, right? It's a country built upon the freedom to practice your religion freely. Yeah, freedom to practice their witchcraft. Okay, so because if they actually wanted to serve Yah, then they'd be keeping the Torah, and they wouldn't have demolished and destroyed the Aboriginal people, uh, while bringing in slaves, from what the west coast of Africa, or the Ivory Coast, and lying about the history of the true Hebrews. I mean, even Hitler, said, talked about who the true Hebrews were, and I mean, this is not difficult to comprehend. It's only difficult to comprehend to people who don't want to comprehend it, who choose to keep their blinders on and stay in in this fairy tale la la land of Democrat versus Republican, where they can argue on either side of the aisle about uh, the future or the direction of this country or company, because it has a president, and presidents have, I mean, companies have presidents, um, and you know, USA Incorporated. I mean, we've been incorporated. Uh, so they're both serving devils, both sides of the aisle. I mean, the Democrats are just more open with their their servitude to the devil by talking about homosexuality, trying to get that legalized and propped up, and Black Lives Matter, saying that they don't want fathers in the houses, and they're against the nuclear family, and now that doing these uh, transformer sex shows for children, and trying to institute pedophilia. Uh, so that, because I mean, that's what it really all goes back to. I mean, the Roman Catholic Church, they're always touching little boys, painting little baby naked angels on the wall for their pornography. But to you, it's just, oh, look at the little naked baby angel. No, that's not how angels are described in the book. And even if they were described like that, which they are not, we're not to make images of them or the Messiah or anything of that nature. But people don't care. People just do whatever it is they want to do, and they call it righteous. But at the same time, on the right side of the aisle, you got the Republicans, who claim to be conservative, who claim to be of the faith, but yet you won't hear any of them telling you that the Messiah is what you would call a black man. You won't hear them saying that. Um, you won't hear them saying that we should be keeping the Torah or anything of that nature. You'll hear them saying, hey, let's go to church on Sunday. Let's go to a building with a huge sundial on top of it, what they call a steeple, which is really an obelisk. But hey, let's go in this building on a Sunday, which is the first day of the week, not the seventh day of the week. And let's go on ahead and have our holy convocation to our God. But I'll tell you what, their God ain't the God of the Bible, though. So, because if their God was the God of the Bible, or at least the Elohim of the Hebrews, their God might be in the Bible somewhere, Nimrod, or some other deity, Ishtar. There's many guys, Wooten, which is who Santa Claus is based off of, or who they name Wednesday after Wooten Day. Thursday, Thor's Day. Friday, Frida Day. Tuesday, I forgot the what god that's of, and then Monday, Moon Day. Saturday, that's for Saturn Day. Sunday, that's for the sun. I mean, how do people not see this? But anyway, so the conservatives, so-called conservatives, they're not the people of the book either. They serve devils too. So it's really just two groups of devils fighting over who's going to control the direction of this demonic country. But truthfully, what they would call the quote unquote black man and woman, we're supposed to be the conservatives, the ultra conservatives. We were never a urban people. They call us urban, but we were never an urban people. We are rural people. Our people were farmers and herders of sheep and things of that nature. And we really should try to get back to that. And a lot of so-called quote unquote black people are getting back to that. And salute to y'all. May the Most High continue to bless y'all and everything y'all do. But so it's really just they're just trying to pull the wool over our eyes. But a lot of us are waking up and we're seeing it. And actually, that's a good segue to this article about Putin. Now, because he talks about this, he talks about the indigenous people, what they did to the indigenous people. He talks about how this country is satanic. And Truthfully, I didn't read the whole thing, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because that would make this video very long. And I'm going to just kind of just briskly read through it. Um, Now, I don't know about this website. I don't know if it's certified for, this and that. Because you know how they try to say everything is misinformation, disinformation, this. And it's all propaganda. When has the American government ever told the truth about anything? I mean, they haven't told the truth about Building 7 during 9/11, right? I mean, I do know that and I haven't studied witchcraft. I have listened to a couple of people like John Todd and some other ex-witches that have come out of witchcraft just to kind of get an understanding. And I do know that when they're going to do some type of whatever they call it, seance, some type of whatever, they're going to try to commune with the spirit or whatever, they set a pentagram on fire. They'll put candles. They'll like put out a 5-point star or whatever, or draw a 5-point star and put like candles at the end of each star, on every point of the star. So they set a pentagram on fire. Okay, well, on 9/11, did they not set a pentagram on fire by setting the Pentagon on fire? So maybe it was just what, I don't know. I mean, this is just conjecture. This is just alleged, but a lot of people died that day. Could it have not at least been one huge human sacrifice? I don't know. It's just something to think about. But anyway, so Putin invokes Satan, slavery, gobbles, I think that's how you pronounce that, nukes to announce West annexation speech. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday cast his move to absorb 4 Ukrainian regions as part of an existential battle for Russia's very survival against the aggressive West, a blustery show of his readiness to further up the ante in the conflict in Ukraine that has now entered its 8th month. The fiery speech that Putin delivered before signing the treaties for the Ukrainian regions' absorption into Russia marked some of his harshest criticism of the West to date. He accused the U.S. and its allies of trying to bring Russia down on its knees and enslave its people, and he vowed to use all means necessary to fend off attacks, a clear reference to the country's nuclear arsenal. I mean, it ain't just America, but I mean, Putin knows that it's the devil, the man of sin, the man of lawlessness, the Antichrist. It's going to be one world government. Okay, it's coming. It's happening. All right, and this country is definitely being used by that faction that wants to bring in this one world government to try to enslave the rest of the world. I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but they want to see us as a colony, Putin said. They don't want equal cooperation. They want to rob us. They want to see us not as a free society, but as a crowd of soulless slaves. Putin's televised speech took place at the opulent white and gold St. George's Hall in the Grand Kremlin Palace and was frequently interrupted by applause from a obsequious crowd. My fault, it's hard to pronounce that one. Obsequious audience of top officials and lawmakers. After signing the accession treaties with the Moscow-backed leaders of the 4 regions, Putin linked hands with them in a show of unity that was startling, unusually close physical contact for the 69-year-old Russian leader who has kept most of his interlocutors at a long distance since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. So they even got to throw in some Rona propaganda in there, right? But here we go. In sweeping attack In a sweeping attack on the U.S. and its Western allies, Putin castigated their history of colonial gains, slavery, the destruction of indigenous people and cultures, and other actions that he described as running contrary to human nature, truth, freedom, and justice. Now, I don't see what is wrong with that. I really don't see what is wrong with that. My fault. Let me put this up here on the screen so y'all can see. Um, right here. I mean, in a sweeping attack on the U.S. and its Western allies, Putin castigated their history of colonial gains, slavery, destruction of indigenous people and cultures, and other actions that he described as running contrary to human nature, true freedom, and justice. I mean, that says it all right there about this country and why we're in the state that we're in right now with uh, relationships between men and women, especially the so-called quote unquote black community, where they taking the man out the household and now daddy government takes care of all the needs of the woman, and she's free to go carouse and go from house to house and um, rack up as many seedlings that she can, and then she actually gets rewarded for it by this government. And it's almost impossible now for her to peer bond with someone, and definitely for her to submit to someone, because why should she doesn't have to. And I don't blame the women for that. Why? Because women by nature are going to go with who is in control. So just off top, being a quote unquote black man, um, although you may be, or we may be, more naturally gifted in many areas because the Most High has blessed us, and we are the original man. We are the ones who come from the soil. I mean, we all come from the same people, um, you know, but the same thing. But I mean, even though we may be very naturally gifted in many areas, this is not our society. We are not the heads of this culture. Um, so being that we don't own our own companies, and even if we do, we still have to submit to a government that does not look like us. Even if we have our own land, our own property, we don't have our own, like, even if we have our own land within the confines of this country, we've been kicked out of the land that we were given, and imposters came and they stole our identity. So we're people without a land right now. We're people without really a culture right now. And culture is shared values and practices between the people. Basically, if I'm in a culture with someone, I know that my neighbor is teaching their children the same thing that I teach my children. And those that teach their children differently from us, then they're of a different culture. Although we may look the same, they're of a different culture, right? So if I teach my children about Yah, and my neighbor teaches their children about Yah, and all my neighbors for the 10 city blocks, we all teach our children of Yah, we're all of the same culture. We all share the same practices and things of that nature, observe the same days and things of that nature. Whereas now, quote unquote black culture, your neighbor might be teaching their children about Allah, another one might be teaching them about Buddha, another one might be teaching them about Caesar Borgia, who they think is Jesus Christ, and you might be trying to teach your children about the Most High Yah, and y'all all look alike, so you feel this connection with these people, but in reality, y'all are not connected. Y'all have nothing of the same really in agreement. And how can two walk together unless they be agreed? That's why we really don't have a culture. And that's why our women in particular, quote unquote, black women, or women of melanin, women who are people of color, they are going to be drawn to the nations of this world that do have their own, that are in control, that do have the power, so to speak. Although this won't always be the case, but that's why you're going to have a hard time getting a woman to submit to you, unless she really sees something in you and she comprehends at least a kernel of the truth that's going on around her. I mean, it's that's why in Egypt, the Pharaoh said, "Kill all the man children, kill all the little boys, uh, but keep the girls alive because the women are going to submit." It's just as simple as that. The women are going to submit. Okay. Um, but anyway, so yes, the slavery, the destruction of the indigenous people is contrary, and the destruction of people's cultures is contrary to human nature, truth, freedom, and justice. Because if you actually cared about people's freedom, if you actually cared about people's truth, if you actually, or the truth, if you actually cared about justice, then you wouldn't be destroying all that to make us all the same, to make us all consumers, to make us all dependent upon the system, so that when you do make your play, that people are dependent on you for morsels of food because we have no culture and we don't know the truth. So therefore, I could take away your freedom. I could take away your justice. You know, Putin denounced the U.S. for carpet bombings during the Korean and Vietnam Wars. He particularly noted that the U.S. has been the only country to use nuclear weapons, dropping them on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the closing days of World War II. They created a precedent. By the way, Putin said in what some analysts saw as a veiled reference to his declared readiness to use all means to deter Ukraine from pressing on with his counteroffensive. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, he's saying, yo, y'all the ones, if anybody should be worried about somebody using nuclear weapons, it's y'all. Y'all the only ones that have ever used them. The West continued looking for a way to strike us, weaken, and break up Russia, Putin declared. They simply can't accept the existence of such a big, great country with all its territory, natural riches, mining resources, and the people who can't and won't follow someone else's bidding. They drown the truth in an ocean of myths, illusions, and fakes, using extreme aggressive propaganda, lying recklessly like Nazi propaganda chief Joseph Goebbels. And that's true. I mean, just turn on your television, turn on Netflix, turn on YouTube. I mean, I remember when YouTube 10, 12 years ago, you can get on YouTube and you could watch videos concerning counter opinions, what they would call conspiracy videos or conspiracy theories. But it's funny, they won't call Darwinism a theory, even though that's what it is. It's the theory of Darwinism, but yet they treat it as fact. And some conspiracy theories have turned out to be conspiracy facts. But if you theorize about the conspiracies that are going on this earth, and there's major conspiracies going on. I mean, just look at Psalms 83. If you want a conspiracy theory or a conspiracy fact, go to Psalms 83 and read about how all the nations of the earth have conspired against the children of Israel to make them forget who they are, to take away the remembrance of their name and who they are in the name of Yah. It's right there, Psalm 83. So just because somebody theorizes on conspiracies, see, they tried to make it a bad word, a derogatory term. Oh, put on a tinfoil hat. He's got a conspiracy theory again. But a lot of people are going to realize one day that a lot of these are actually facts. Okay. And, but yeah, they keep you so inundated with all these new movies and new TV shows. And nowhere on television or on the internet are you going to find quote unquote black people who actually act in a manner that's honorable, who act like who has some sense about them. No, you turn on the Real Housewives of LA or whatever. I don't watch these shows. I don't know the names of them, but any show that has a so-called quote-unquote black people involved is going to be a lot of buffoonery, thuggery, homosexuality, just foolishness. Or it's going to be some type of sport, fighting, boxing, something like that. But are they going to sit down and are they going to show you images of who you are as someone, as a man of honor or woman of honor? No, no, they're not going to show you that. They'll show you 60 days in, fresh out, love at the lockup, um, just all kinds of foolishness. Um, Me personally, if I'm watching TV, I might watch the Motor Trend channel, I might watch Discovery Channel, History Channel, stuff like that, and still take that type of stuff with a grain of salt because it's just his story. It's not. A lot of these things aren't the actual account, and even if they are telling you a story like about Hannibal or somebody who is a quote unquote black man, they'll still try to dress it up and make them look white or light skinned or something of that nature. But I don't get upset with excuse me. I don't get upset with how that goes. Why? Because if we want to see images of ourselves in a positive manner, then we have to create them. And we have to create vehicles to put it out. Because this ain't our society. This ain't our kingdom. This ain't our rest. Actually, this is our trouble. I mean, Jacob's trouble. You know what I mean? So, and you have to know that. But a lot of people, they're not going to wake up, and they're going to fall right into the false images and the myths and the illusions, and the extreme aggressive propaganda that this country is going to give to his people, because they just don't have a desire to break free from this matrix. And you really can't help those people. In a blunt statement, Putin also accused the Anglo-Saxons, I mean, very specific, the Anglo-Saxons, a term Russian officials used to refer to the U.S. and Britain, of sabotaging the Russian-built Nord Stream. So that he ain't mad at the Hebrews. He ain't mad at the quote-unquote black man. And I'm not saying he's mad at the Anglo-Saxons. What I am saying is that he is accusing, and I believe quite correctly, the Anglo-Saxons. And this is coming from him. Don't get mad at me. And this is an article I'm reading. So don't get mad at me. Of sabotaging the Russian-built Nord Stream 1 and 2 gas pipelines under the Baltic Sea to Germany. He didn't name a specific country, didn't offer any proof to back up his allegations. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration on Friday rejected Putin's pipeline claim as disinformation, which of course they're going to do, designed to distract from his annexation of parts of Ukraine. Putin describes the U.S. push for a rules-based order as hypocritical, attempting to cover up the U.S. diktat based on crude force. We hear them say that the West upholds the rules-based order. But where do these rules come from? That's a good question, because they're not coming from the Torah. They're not coming from the Bible. They're not coming from any place of actual righteousness. So who are the Anglo-Saxons? Who are they to try to rule over anyone else with this rules-based world order? That's a very good question, Putin. And I'm not a Russian apologist. I'm just somebody who's observant, looking at this thing from a neutral standpoint, because just because I live in America, this is the land of my captivity. And these people don't give a shit about me. These people will gun me down in the streets today for no reason and not give one shit. So I'm supposed to love them? Nah. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna love Yah. And I'm gonna seek truth in every shape, form, and fashion. Putin said, those are ravings and plain cheating, double or triple standards intended for fools. Russia is a great country with a 1,000-year history, an entire civilization, and it won't live according to those forged fake rules. He charged that the U.S. troop presence in Germany, Japan, and South Korea effectively amounts to their occupation, and reminded the audience the U.S. has eavesdropped on their leaders, saying it was a shame not only for those who did it, but also for those who slavishly swallowed that. As part of his sweeping diatribes against the West, Putin also fired broadsides at Western gender politics that he described as satanic, citing the Bible to declare that those poisonous fruit have become visible not only to people in Russia, but also many in the West. So I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to make this video too long, and it's already been a lot longer that I wanted it to be. Like I said, I just had a lot on my chest today. But that last part that Putin said, the last part that we read at least, about the U.S. being satanic. I mean, yes, a lot of what the U.S. condones is an abomination to the eyes of Yah, who is the Elohim or the God or the mighty one of the Hebrews and of the Israelites, who wrote or who gave a law and then a testimony to his people, which we commonly refer to as the Bible, which is really just an instruction manual, first and foremost, the Torah, the laws, the statutes, the commandments, and then a testimony slash history book of the people who serve the Most High Yah. And the copy we have is a edited version of it, because there are many books that have been left out of what we refer to as the Bible. But one thing is for sure, that homosexuality is definitely an abomination. But yet this but the West, not just the U.S., but the West, not only condones it, celebrates it, puts it in your face, is actually trying to get your children to believe in this. And the thing is, I mean, that's what they have to do, right? Because they can't create children. You can't be a homosexual and create children, because that's not how the designer designed things, right? So what they have to do is they have to go after your children, right? But it's your job, specifically you as a man. If you're a man, listen to it. It's your job to guard your seed inside of your body, and especially outside of your body. Meaning, don't lay down with a woman that you don't want to have children with, that you don't have an agreement with. And then when you do find someone that you want to procreate with, it's your job and it's her job to make sure that you are teaching your children, and not that you're just sending your children off to a daycare, to a school, where they can be taught over by Satanists and homosexuals and those who do not have the best intentions in mind, so that they can teach your children, or worse. So anyway, I can't really find nothing wrong. Now, I'm not saying that everything in this article is correct. I'm not saying that everything Putin stands for is above reproach or whatever. What I am saying is that whether you be a Democrat or whether you be a Republican, if you're not in the truth of the Torah, if you're not serving the Most High Yah, then you're observing a false religion, or you're observing a false faith anyway. And that's fine. You have the right to do that. But I don't really see, it's not going anywhere. See, I like to think to the third dimension, meaning I like to think to the end of a situation. For example, if I go left instead of going right, what's going to happen that way? I want to think about that before I do it. when I'm speaking to one, if I say this instead of saying that, what is going to be the most likely outcome? You just don't do stuff without thinking about what is going to be the outcome. That's two-dimensional think, and that's for people who don't comprehend that there are consequences to everything you do. There's going to be a reward for everything you do, whether that reward be a good one or a bad one. So, where does serving a false God and participating in a false religion, where does that get you? Where does that leave you? What is the end result to that? Right? But anyway, maybe you just don't care. I do. So I try to think, how do I get to where I want to go? And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, because there's many snares and tricks and traps. It's all kind of spiritual warfare going on in the heavens. So, just gotta take it day by day. Don't worry about tomorrow, because today got its own troubles. But at the same time, at least think about what you're doing, because today could be the day that the world ends. Maybe not for everybody, but for you. So my name is Brother Word. This is my channel, Torah Observant Patriarchs. If you're still here at the end of this video, consider hitting that like button. Consider hitting that subscribe button. Consider sharing, or don't. It don't matter. I pray you have a blessed rest of your day, and shalom.